everyone. I'm Rebecca Lombardo, fractional CMO and host of VendorVibes. Today, I'm here with Judith from Black Coral Consulting. Hello, Judith.
Hi, Rebecca. Very nice to be here.
So tell me, what is Black Coral Consulting?
We're an asset management company with a commercial lens. So we help our owners to optimize their top line revenues, and we make sure that the majority of that then flows through to the bottom line.
Amazing. So how large or small are your client base?
We work across the globe internationally, and we mainly focus on ultra luxury resorts and destination resorts. And we help them to optimize their revenues across all income streams. So not just for rooms, but also for the restaurants, for spa, for attractions if they have any, for casinos, and then also for the retail. And our client base we're based in the Middle East in Dubai, and our client base spans globally. So we have clients in Mexico, in Europe, in Asia Pacific, in Africa, and it really goes across the globe.
That's amazing. So you don't just look at a hotel or the hotel. You look at everything.
Correct. We look at every business unit. So you can almost imagine anything that has an inventory and that has a price point for sale, we can help to optimize that. So if you look at the spa components, a lot of times owners, they like to see how they get their investment from a retail perspective, from a real estate perspective, and they break down then the profit or their return on investment per square meter. So we then really dive deep and we look on how can we really optimize every single square meter of every single business unit.
That's really interesting. So, for example, would you be able to say that the retail store does better than having a spa in that same space? Is that the kind of analysis?
That is correct. Yeah. So we really we take a look. Sometimes you have business units that you need in order to get the traction into the hotel, right? So if you were to put yourself, whether it's on a road, whether it's in a destination or on the beach, and you have five hotels that are all five-star hotels, let's say, and they all charge the same price point, $500 or $1,000 a night, why would I come to your property? And we help to really help you stand out. And with that, then we need to compare which area is actually profitable. And this really came down to during my time in the corporate world when I was working for Curzon International as the Senior Vice President for Revenue Management Distribution. And I was overseeing the Atlantis Hotel in Dubai, Bahamas, and then also in China. And every day that we had below 95% was a crisis, and more competition was opening up. So we really had to see how could we repurpose certain spaces, whether it was existing restaurants that we had to rebrand and to re-optimize, or whether it was storage facilities that we then converted into restaurants. There was even one storage facility that we converted into a retail outlet. And then with that, we had to see how much money do we actually invest, but then also what is the return for every single square meter, because every space that you sell, ideally gets a return and also then for the owners.
So, what inspired you to get into this? Like, why do you do this?
I had very good mentors along the way, and believe it or not, but I always wanted to be in sales and marketing because when I did my internship, all I saw was the salespeople just going to the restaurant and have lunches. And I thought, oh, that looks quite nice. And I had a very good mentor at the time, and revenue management was quite new, still for hotels. That was back in 2000. And that was in the US on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. And he then said, Judith, how about you do some analytics and some numbers? And then that was with Hilton at the time. And they put me through this extensive training on revenue optimization. And that really stuck with me. And yeah, it just, it's an art and it's a science combined. And you kind of like you're the gatekeeper of all the strategies, and you are able to give the advice to the different business units and departments. And that's just simply a lot of fun. You take something and you see on how you can improve it and make it even better.
That's really interesting. I think that it is an art and a science, like you said.
Yeah, no, definitely. And there's a lot that you can do with it. a lot of nuances, and it's just the more robust you have set up your structure and your blueprint, the more you can build on it. It's sometimes otherwise then you just analyze data. But if the foundation isn't there, the data that you're analyzing might not even be clean. And then you might jump to conclusions that aren't relevant, and you take decisions and the wrong decisions. And that's where you see then a lot of companies struggle. And what we're focusing on now too is that we don't just focus on hospitality as such, but we take the learnings from hospitality and we help companies, whether it's startups or bigger companies, to really establish that.
So can you share maybe one anecdote or favorite memory of how you did this for somebody and it worked out well?
It's every time when we're able to achieve double-digit growth. That's really, when we're very happy. But one anecdote, it was actually I was celebrating a 10-year anniversary with one of my colleagues, and we're sitting at a quite famous restaurant in Dubai on a very high floor on the Palm, and they had a business lunch in the afternoon on a Friday. And the business lunch was available every single day apart from Fridays at the time. And then we had lunch, and then when we made the booking, but just to let you know, there is no business lunch available today. And then we sat down, and again we were told, but there is no business lunch available today. And then about 45 minutes into us having, ordered our meal, the restaurant was still empty, and normally it's pumping. You have beautiful views over Dubai, and it's just the views are just simply absolutely stunning. And then I asked the question, well, why don't you have a business lunch today? And they said, well, it's Friday, it's the weekend. And I said, oh, but why is the restaurant empty? And then they said, oh, because it's Friday, it's still prayer time. And then I said, well, from when to when is the business lunch? And it's from 12:30 until 2:30, or from 12 until 2:30 at the time. I said, why don't you make the business lunch available? Because prayer time then ends and people come at 3 o'clock. And then they made that available. And ever since, it's just been super busy.
Wow. So you discovered that by being in person on site and observing everything around you. So it was like a combination of your first world, sensory experiences, you're paying attention, and all of your training.
Exactly, yeah. And it doesn't take, it's a lot of times revenue management or revenue optimization can be a fear factor for many people, but it really isn't that challenging. And a lot of times you just walk into a room, you walk into a space, and you can find either revenue leakage. So very recently I made a purchase, and I had already committed to buying that product. And then they said, oh, if you have XYZ credit card, we can give you an additional 10% discount. So I had already committed to making that purchase, and yet I was offered a 10% discount. And that's something that we refer to as then having a revenue leakage. And
Okay.
that's also then what we help our clients to make sure, that their processes and procedures are in place, that their teams understand why the processes and procedures are in place, so that they do take their learnings and that they can protect not just only the revenues they generate, but that they also can protect their bottom line.
How important is the communication that you were just speaking about in terms of this being successful?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, this is really from a revenue optimization culture perspective. You have to have everybody on board, and they need to understand the why certain things are being done. And then, when you hone in the various departments, a lot of times you have disconnect between the commercial functions and the operational functions. Or then you have marketing talking about Christmas, PR talks about Easter already, and then sales, is activating the summer. And that's the same, that's just from a rooms perspective, but then even from an F&B perspective, then, if you're not pushing your most profitable item, then also on Instagram, that's where things are becoming unhinged. Or similar for the spa. It's understanding really your patterns, the same for retail or for attractions. Whether you have then, theme parks or water parks, or you have an opera ticket for sale. There's just so many different nuances for which you have to have the strategies, the seasonality, understand your pricing, understand your competitive set, than in terms of on how you can optimize it.
I could listen to you say that all day long. It's so true and so important. Listen, thank you so much for chatting with me today. It was a pleasure hearing from you. If somebody hears this and wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
The best way is to reach out through either by email, Judith at blackcoralconsulting.com, or they can follow us on LinkedIn. They can also subscribe to our newsletter via LinkedIn, and that's the best way to get in touch with us.
Excellent. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, for having me.
Cheers, everyone.